Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair, and this week we've got an extra special guest. We've got Greg Munt, who's just started a recent project with Williams Corp called Own With Wiliiams, coming in to tell us about his journey and his new project.
Awesome, Greg. Good to have you here. First time on the podcast. How's it feel to be here?
Really good, other than being an early Saturday morning.
Yeah, and it was your birthday.
Friday night for his birthday.
Celebrations.
Yeah, it's been birthday week, right?
Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
You're looking great.
I was
Thank
saying
you,
to
thank
Mike,
you.
I was like, there's some people have a birthday and there's some people have a birth week. And it looks like you've chosen the birth week.
It'll extend to the birth month.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice. Classic. So I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more times. There's 2 ways to learn about money and how to achieve your goals. The first one is we talk about theory. We tend to do that quite a bit, and it's a really good way to learn. The other is learning from other people. Greg, you've done a hell of a lot of things for a very youthful man. You've started businesses, you've sold businesses, you've bought property, a whole range of different things. So today's talking all about you. You're the star of the show.
Oof. Thank you. Yeah. Hey, look, started out with a bit of a book recommendation, actually. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, great book. Old employer referred that to me and thought property was a good place to be. Left school at 17, no education, and had 2 options with living at home. What should I do? Paying my way. Mum and Dad said, hey, look, you can pay $40 a week in board, or you can pay $80 a week and we'll put into a savings account for you. So combination of a book and thinking, right, I need to save a deposit. Let's get into that. So put away my $80 a week. And 18 months later, bought my first property at 19. So I bought a rental.
Hold up, Greg.
Yeah.
Like you've just gone through, that's a lot of things from, I mean, I think about James at 21, right? My brain's not formed. I'm trying to put kegs through windows, getting caught by people, like nothing's ticking. And you're talking about at 17, you're reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you're buying your first property. This is not normal, right? Like what happened? One, to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I guess the second part, Rich Dad, Poor Dad encouraged you to buy a property. But most people I talk to, it doesn't click till 50, where they're like, I guess I better get my stuff together. Where did all this come from at such a young age?
Good question.
We're going deep today, Greg.
We are. I guess, well, I mean, we know property is a good pathway to wealth, and I think most people want to build wealth. Wealth brings opportunities, and property is definitely a pathway to do that. It's definitely worked for me, wealth through property and business. So just really.
And then in terms of the, you said an employer recommended the book to you. Who was the employer? Was he like inspiring? Was it like, the shelf stacker at Woolworths and you were the trolley boy? What was that?
They just hand you a book and go, here you go.
To be honest, I can't actually remember. I remember who it was. Bev Cassidy, thank you very much.
You owe that person a beer for sure.
Yeah. So that was good. But look, it was just maybe a passing comment, it's good. Great book. I still recommend it to everybody. Got my 19-year-old son. He's had a read. He knows he's got on a deadline. I bought my first property at 19. He's got to do the same. So.
And so you bought your first property at 19. Tell us about the property. How much did it cost? Where was it? So it was a rental?
Yeah, it was indeed. Number 50 Kemp Road in Massey. It was 1998.
So Massey was basically a junior Ponsonby at that point, I reckon.
100%. Yeah. 145 grand. So I just got my first job with a company car. I've had my savings. I think I had 7 or 8 grand in my savings account. Sold my Nissan Skyline to my one of my mates, and there was my $14,500, my 10% deposit. Whopping 10% deposit on a $145,000 property. So
does it still hurt that you sold the Skyline, or?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you 145 grand. Any idea what that property's worth now?
I did actually look it up last year. I think it's like mid 800s now.
But,
property's a stepping stone, right? Like that was the first property I sold, which funded my career in business. So,
But before you got into business, you bought a couple more properties, is that right?
So 19, bought my first one in 19, spent the next year renovating it, putting in, new carpet, painting, doing all slave labor on it, as you do. Chipped away a little bit of the mortgage on it. So a bit of structure. I'd sort of set, I didn't basically have expenses. So sort of structured the mortgage into about 6 different parts.
Yeah.
Had some 2 $5,000 chunks. So by the end of that first year, I'd nailed 2 extra $5,000 principal reductions above and beyond. And between that, adding some value, renovated that, bought number 47 Garten Drive in Massey. So I bought the second rental when I was 20, having added some value. Rinse and repeat. It was a bit of a tidy house. It was amazing. It had an internal garage. It was such a big deal.
Yeah.
Go look after that skyline.
145 grand again. Yeah. So the first two were 145 grand each.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1998, 99. Yeah.
And did you learn the lessons around how you can use the equity from one property to a second property? Was that all the concepts you learned in Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yeah, absolutely. And then that took me to numbers 3 and 4, was literally just added value to those two. Property market had risen a little bit, so we had a little bit of a gain there as well. And then trying to buy number 3 and 4. And that's sort of what led me to dealing with a mortgage broker, realising that from a borrowing potential, you need to have a better income. And so I had a shitty sales job at the time. And
what were you selling?
Should we? Yeah, marine. Yeah. So I left school and got into the signage industry.
Yeah.
And then got into marine just because it was fun. I was competitively wakeboarding. And
when you paused for a second, I was like, wait,
what is he
how
selling?
dodgy is the thing he's going to tell us he was selling?
And Massey in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you got to a point and you thought, I need more income, which, Mike, it would be nice if more people came to that realization when they want to build a property portfolio.
Yeah, it's funny because people sometimes, like, I often find, and myself personally as well, when I left school, I was like, I don't want to sit in a classroom for another 4 or 5 years. I'm going to go out and get a job. Did that for like 4 years, was landscaping, and then thought my earnings potential as a landscaper, unless obviously you own your own company, is very capped. So then went and studied finance and economics and moved into finance.
To work in a call center.
Yeah, but it's it's kind of like a lot of people do have that realization that I need to switch here, and if you do it early on, not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So you decided you needed some more income. You'd spoken to a mortgage broker.
I've literally come up against that brick wall that you guys see all the time, which is, hey, look, you've got enough equity, but you don't have enough income. And so at that point in time, I went, right, property finance, dealing with a mortgage broker, thought that looks like a bit of a career for me. So I literally sold that first property, put a year's worth of money in the bank, and went, right, because, starting out fresh in business, not knowing anything about it, joined a company, went, right, at the end of the year, if I don't have any money, I'll go and get another job. But it worked out all right. So, yeah.
It's funny how many of those stories you hear where you go, I'm going to give this thing a crack, and this period of time ago, I remember when I was talking to my wife about coming and starting the wealth business at Lighthouse. She was like, oh, but we want to start a family and those sort of things. And I'm like, just give me this period of time. It's interesting how many stories. So you gave yourself a year.
Gave myself a year. If the bank account was dry, I was going to go back and get another job, right? So at that stage, young and no kids and no real commitments. So you can take those bets, right? Calculated bet.
Yep. Okay. And then what happened after that?
Yeah. So, started my first job as a mortgage broker. Quickly became one of the firm's top earners in the first sort of 18 months. Left, set up my first business, grew that. So, mortgage broking company called Mortgage Intelligence back in the day, and sort of grew that to a point I had 3 different offices: Epsom, Albany, and up in Epsom, Albany, Takapuna. Sorry, bunch of staff. Pre-GFC, sold that at a perfect time.
Yeah.
And jumped out. So first.
What was
that was
mortgage?
the first business.
Sorry, what was mortgage broking back then? Because I know, like, when Mike and I were still
easier.
Yeah, but even I'm also thinking from a perspective of, like, when Mike and I left the banks in 2020 odd, it was probably like a 50-50 spread between going to the bank directly and going to a broker, and you'd seen that trend grow. But back then, a lot of people must have dealt directly with their bank and didn't really understand what a mortgage broker did.
Yeah, back in the day, the big brand at that point was Mike Perot. Lots of advertising. Everybody knew that brand, and they basically, I don't even know if they're still around. Don't hear much from them, but so there was definitely a lot of TV and media around mortgage broking. So
I just imagine being a mortgage broker back then and like just the opportunities you have to do things that we don't have now in terms of like the regulation and all of that sort of thing. Oh God, I dream of it. It'd be so much fun.
And the reason he dreams of it is why we have regulation. So you sold your business.
Yeah, sold that business. That was great. And made some great investments, like $160,000 Hummer at the time as a 26.
Sorry, rewind on that.
Yeah. Let's spend the next 15 minutes going through that. This is probably peak Hummer time, right? Like we're talking 2007.
We're talking 2007.
What color?
Black on
Yeah.
black. And it was at the time, got a flat tire in my 24s. Nobody could change a 24.
What, you had to put it on bricks and take it away and come back?
Had to take it to a truck.
Truck
place.
Oh, that is so good.
To change it. So
yeah. Okay.
So making some good financial. So going from some good stuff going on to then some interesting.
Yeah. Got a taste of money. Got a taste of the good life.
Yeah, easy come, easy go.
Yep. So besides buying a Hummer, what else did you do with the cash? What did you do next?
Yeah. Hey, look, had always been dabbling in property throughout the build of that business, and that sort of continued to today. I think I'm over. Last check, I think it was property number 32 or 33.
Yeah.
So a bunch of sort of add value properties, lots of do-ups. Myself and some clients built some new houses together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so always dabbling in property on the side, as well as having sort of cash flow from the business. So.
Yeah. And so you've done a lot in sort of property and finance, and we'll get on to kind of what you're up to now in a little bit as well. But what I want to touch on really quickly is just the charity that you founded and a little bit about that, because, quite often people focus on the making money and that feels great and you get the Hummer and you get this and this, but actually there's another side to it as well. So, you've got Dream Days. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so Dream Days came about literally sitting on the couch one night watching, I think it was 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And Make-A-Wish had just done an amazing day for a girl. Unfortunately, she was terminal.
Yeah.
She had brain tumor. All she wanted to do was have a 13th birthday party. So watching this, and it was really quite moving. And so I thought, look, we need to do something. Got plenty of contacts, and so sort of reached out and offered some support. And hey, look, decided that we wanted to go and establish something and do some good in the community. So we did our first couple of events for children with illness and disability, and then we sort of set that up as a formal registered charity a few years later. And so, as of sort of last year, when I sort of exited the old business, because it was sort of attached to the old business, we'd done over 140 Dream Days.
Nice.
So there's 140 families with children between ages 5 and 21 affected by illness and disability in some way, sending them on some amazing days.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, really cool. So really, really rewarding and great thing. So
that's very cool.
And that's still going on now, which is great.
Yeah, because if you think about what the purpose of money is, right? It's to allow you to live the lifestyle you want, have some security, and for a lot of people have some form of giving back, right? And you think about the lives that you would have made a little bit better off the back of that. It's very cool.
Yeah, built some great friendships and stuff. So
cool. And then the business attached to that we probably haven't spoken about. So you spent some time away. So you sold your business, you focused on property for a while.
Yeah.
Your restraint of trade came up and you were like, I'm going to get back into the game.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, basically sort of got into commercial finance for a couple of years there, leading into the GFC, which was an interesting time. Most of the old property developers of that era went through some challenging times, shall we say. So safe to say there wasn't much development finance around. And so I thought, look, what do I know? Residential mortgage broking, sort of out of that restraint. So set up a new business, which was the one I've just sort of recently sold. That was then a 12-year journey. So that grew quickly from a mortgage broking business to we added an insurance business, then an accounting business, and KiwiSaver and another insurance business on the end. So it was a really cool journey. just 3 weeks short of 12 years.
Yep.
And but it was sort of time to move on from that. So managed to sell that to another company, and 2 years later, here we are.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So before we talk about what's next, for those who are early in their money journey or looking how to improve themselves, what are some of the big lessons that, before we talk about maybe some of the failures, what are some tips you give somebody who's looking to, maybe improve their income, start a business, get into property? What are some tips you have?
Yeah, I think one of the key things, which you guys will no doubt see as well, and you're in similar business to my old one, and is your trajectory. And you referred to it before, right? You understood that you on the tools as a landscaper, you were only going to get so far. And what's really amazed and scared and bewildered me over the last 20 odd years in finance is that I think everybody wants to succeed and wants to achieve certain things financially. But how often do they actually look at their trajectory and go, right, if I keep doing the same thing I'm doing, am I going to really hit those goals? And it scares me that not enough people really think about that. So if you're listening to this, I mean, key thing is, as you referred to, Mike, just looking at what, where are you going? What are your goals? And are you actually committed to those goals? And then I guess the one thing I've really learned in these last few years is around actually having a financial plan. Most people do not have a financial plan, right? So it's like, what's this journey we're going on? Oh, we want to be wealthy. We want to have all these nice things and do these nice things. I mean, fundamentally, what's somebody's goals? Good family life, good relationships, spend plenty of time, work on our terms, travel the world, have some nice toys, right?
Yeah.
There's not many people that don't fit into some sort of realm of that. What are they actually doing about it? Like, it's, hey, I'm on this journey. Are you the rudderless boat that's just being blown around?
Just drifting.
Or do you actually know where you're going? So I think the big thing for me is really pinning down that where do you actually want to get to? What are the actions? I'm a landscaper. I'm on the tools. I'm not going to actually get there. I better make a change.
Yeah. I appreciate the plug. And if you want a financial plan, put in the comments, James saved me, and I will save you.
Yeah. So we've kind of run through a bit of the journey about where we're up to now, a bit of the good stuff around a phenomenal car, which has great gas mileage
Wait,
on
we're
it.
talking about the Skyline or the Hummer?
I mean, to be honest, the Skyline is very good. That one.
The Hummer was great. The first maiden voyage of that thing, took it away to the mountains, so open road driving, loaded up with the team.
Nice.
27.7 litres per 100 Ks
Oh.
to the mountain.
She's basically a hybrid.
Yeah.
Actually, let's keep going down. So, it's funny because everyone wants, the toys and this sort of stuff, the Skyline, the Hummer. Some people call them bad purchases. I, as a car guy, love cars. You've gone Skyline, Hummer. What are the latest additions? Me and cars. I've invested a lot in cars over the years. Hey, look, what's a bad decision? I mean, right now I've got a couple of supercars, but I also, to balance that, have a Tesla. Yeah.
And everybody gives me shit about my Tesla.
As they should, Greg, as they should.
So Elon deserves our money. That is. Hey, look, Hey, cars, I mean, I can even think about one of my old team members who was a big part of growing my business in the early days. And when he turned up to be interviewed for a job with my business that I've just sold, he had two options. He had me, or he had been referred to somebody else.
Yeah.
The other guy had a shitty old Toyota Corolla, and I had my AMG parked out the front. And, young, energetic, goal-driven, and fancy car. It's like,
Who do I want to aspire to be?
And then likewise, do you want your financial advisor turning up to you in a shitty old Toyota Corolla?
However, on the other, I would point out, that we're doing a car episode, which it's either come out or we'll put out, which I'm going to talk about my 1996 Honda Civic, where I park it around the corner from client's house, hot in the summer, cool in the winters. But you don't want your financial advisor having too nice of a car either. You're turning up, you go, ooh, what are these fees looking like?
Yeah.
But the other thing I'd say about cars is it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
It's to a financial plan, relative. If you bought a supercar and you're in 50 grand a year, just horrible.
Yeah, if you're living at mum and dad's because you can't afford to move out, but you've got the supercar, you're not doing something quite right.
Yeah. No, that's I don't know where we're going with the car chat.
I just want to talk about cars. Anyway, so we've run through a bit of history, the Dream Day stuff, a little bit about some of your best purchases. Now, what are you up to next? What's on the cards at the moment?
Yeah, so love property, love finance, obviously, and sort of put together a business model about 6 years ago, just around shared equity. So obviously seeing the last 20 odd years in finance, seeing first home buyers really struggling, right? Lots of people out there, double income, no kids, got the, actually leads on from this last conversation. They've got the iPhone, they've been doing the travel, they've got their avocados on toast, but they don't have enough deposit, right?
Avo on toast with millennials is a trigger word.
I know, right? I know.
Okay, so
Hopefully it triggers them into some action.
Yeah. So,
I had Avo this morning. Continue.
so many people should be getting on the property journey, right? It scares me that there's people in their 30s still not in their first properties and so on. And that's, I think that sort of led, there's clearly an opening. People need advice, they need support. But what we're doing, so Own With Wiliiams, partnered with the guys at Williams Corp, who build a bunch of homes every year, about 500 homes a year, and they also like dealing in that first home buyer market. And so, Own With Wiliiams is literally a co-ownership business model. So we invest alongside our homeowner partners. So let's say young couple wanting to get into their first home, they've got their 5% deposit, bank really wants them to have 20% deposit. We'll put in the 15. We'll co-own that property with them until such time as they can buy us out of it. So, what it does, I guess, it enables those people to get into the market now rather than waiting another 3 years, hopefully building up their deposit, and then also watching the properity market run away, right? Because we're seeing a lot of signs out there. We've got immigration, we've got a property-focused government, we've got interest rates sort of peaking.
Inflation.
We've come off the back of a 15, 20% drop in the property market, and we're seeing seeing that increase. So if you're sitting there with your 5% might quickly turn into 3% over the next 24, 36, 48 months if you don't jump in. So hey, look, we're literally just helping those people into properties.
And it's been a pretty quiet 18 months for the property market in terms of growth. But if you cast your mind back to sort of 2021, 2020, when it was really just kicking up, and trying to outsave a moving market is an absolute fool's game. Like if you can get in early, you are at least on that train with your asset, building equity while the market moves. And to your point around seeing some green shoots in the market, I was saying to the guys this morning at breakfast that I reckon I sat down at the computer yesterday at 7 and at about 6 or 7 o'clock at night was still just taking orders for people buying houses. Like it has gone absolutely crazy out there.
I mean, a 12-hour day from you, I don't think it's ever happened, but we can pretend.
Wow.
Like Mike said, you're really offended, aren't you? He's very sensitive. So don't worry, everybody. Mike works really, really hard. Filling that need for first home buyers is absolutely, because my personal belief longer term is housing is only going to become more and more unaffordable over time. And the gap between the rich and the poor is going to grow.
Definitely.
And you look, we're 15, 20% down at the moment. The risk of not being on the ladder, if it's a goal for you, there's lots of different ways that you can get onto the property ladder, and that's a really good option. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, I bought my first property at 19. I want my son to buy his first property at 19.
Yeah.
So we're counting down the months till August next year. So he's
TikTok. And you're a very goal-driven person, so I'm sure it's going to happen. Let's talk. So you've had a lot of success, right? You've built 2 businesses, you've sold them. As you mentioned, you own a bunch of properties, you're starting your new venture. Sometimes people can kind of hear that and go, I don't know, it's somewhat unrelatable compared to a lot of people's situation. I want to hear about the failures. What are the things, Greg, that you've really stuffed up that others can learn from? And what are the learnings off the back of it?
Yeah, for sure. I reckon I haven't had really miserable financial failures. I've had some good learnings. So sold that first business, obviously bought an overpriced car, as you do, young kid, and but also loaned some money to some people that I shouldn't have loaned some money to.
Yeah.
So that was like an $82,000 lesson.
So is that loaning to like friends and family, or just people who are bad who are never going to pay it back, sort of thing?
Yeah, connections at the time. Yep. So it's people that you think, this is a great business, I'll put some money into that. And, sure enough, some bit of interesting legal advice on the exit. And so, hey, definitely I've learned not to lend money, really. And if you do, be happy to own the asset.
Yeah.
So, and it's like us with our new property venture, Own With Wiliiams. It's we love the asset, we build the asset, and we're happy to own it at the other end. So, so definitely lending money to people. And look, also easy come, easy go, right? I think I was 27 when I sold that first business. Plenty of money in the bank, and easy to make poor decisions when the sun's out.
I think that's in the current market, everybody is feeling a little bit bearish about life and kind of, when will good times come back? But then we forget as well, right? Things start to take off and we always think it's always going to be sunny out. And it's important to remember that good times and bad times don't last, and you need to kind of go with the ebbs and flows. Yeah,
for sure. Another thing, a little bit bored in between businesses, and decided to get into FMCG. So fast moving consumer goods. And we're over actually in Canada for a white Christmas, spur of the moment, and there's all these little energy shot things everywhere. So everywhere you went, there's these little 60, 70, 80 mil energy shots. I was like, far out, those are cool, as a fellow caffeine addict. And so bought up a bunch of them, came back to NZ, reached out to all the brands. Right, can I get an agency for these? Long story short, tied up 3 agencies, I think, but we ran with one main product, did actually pretty well for the first few months. We got, day one, just hired the first salesperson. She goes out, first place she goes to, Demon Energy have just launched their energy shot. We were we might have been like $5 retail. Yeah. They were $3.50. It's okay. Cool. So the first container load of stock was sold at just break even.
Yeah.
Got a contract, got them onto one of the shelves at one of the main petrol stations, Mobil, thank you. And so they were in every Mobil around the country, pretty much. And then, so you're ordering like your net worth of stock to come in from overseas. And then you find out that they're not moving that fast because you do your initial sell in.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was frantically calling around all the different suppliers who sort of wholesale into the retailers. How they're moving, no movement. I'm like, oh shit.
Uh-oh.
I was going to have a lifetime supply of energy shots in my garage. I'd still be sipping them now.
That's why you're at the gym at 5 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
Hasn't slept in 17 years.
Yeah. So once again, I think a sort of narrow escape, right? Just narrow escape on managed to get out of that. And so that was a little interesting. So basically I don't like FMCG. So
what about pretty much all of the things that we've talked about in terms of the new business, the 2 mortgage businesses, moving to property, all quite linked together. This is very outside of that scope. Yeah. Would you ever go back into a business outside of that lane?
I think as a general advice, stick to what you know, double down. You see people often, and I've got a number of mates who are super successful. They've built businesses, they've sold businesses, and then they've gone, right, business is easy. Let's just do all sorts of businesses. I got some mates that sold a professional medical services company, went into everything from bars to all sorts of different stuff, like burnt a bunch of money.
Bars are just such a hiding to nothing, eh? Like it's such a good idea. You're like, all of us, all our mates, we can go there, and then it just burns cash.
Yeah. Like a bunch of really successful mates have got into like spreading across different industries. It's like, stick to what you know, right? Especially if you're in industry, which like property and finance, there's good money in those industries, right? Like
high value transactions.
Yeah, definitely. So stick to your knitting. Yeah.
Mike, do not let Greg talk you out of our doggy daycare idea, okay? It's got legs to it.
I've got a mate who's got a very successful property business and who decided that a doggy daycare would be a great thing. So if you'd like an introduction and a quick lesson as to why you shouldn't do a doggy daycare,
would actually be quite interesting.
Didn't you start this with it's good to learn from other people?
Yeah.
I
don't know if you picked up, Greg. I like to learn, but I don't listen.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so you've spoken about your learnings. What are 3 pieces of advice you'd give to your 18-year-old self?
Definitely the focus thing. Like, stick to your knitting. Like, choose a high value widget that you're selling or an industry, or know that you're doing something that is going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
That's got to be one of the key ones.
Yeah.
I mean, the top of the stack has got to be figure out where the hell you want to go.
Yeah.
How many people do not have goals, do not have a pathway? Like, it's just nuts. It's like, are you just existing in life and being pushed around, or actually guiding your life? I'm the mega goal setter. I look at my goals every week on a Sunday night at minimum and tick them off and gratitude journal them. And
you are probably the best goal setter I've ever met, and definitely a really big strength. And I think the default for most people in their life is to coast and just go through the process. For those who do feel like they're lacking direction at the moment, it's very easy to say set goals, but just like really quick, how do you set goals?
Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek, great book. Really, there's a section in there which is basically the goals philosophy I've used for the last 15 odd years since I've read that book. So the 4-Hour Workweek, great idea. The goal setting concepts, like that book's mainly about drop shipping and selling products and outsourcing and stuff. But goal setting, literally three categories. What do you want to have? So things that we have to buy. So houses, cars,
Hummers.
24-inch tires.
Yeah. Do. So what are the things you want to do? You ask somebody, financial plan, what do you want to do? I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to have the house. It's like, so have, do, and be. What's the kind of person you want to be? Like fit, healthy, good relationships. And then, so you've got those three things. So everything fits into that. Like it's either something you have, it's a capital item you're going to spend some money on. So you can set a financial goal. Oh, that house is going to cost me X. That car is going to cost me X. And from a person in business, you then break that down into, what does it cost annually to do that? Is it something you're going to finance? So what's the finance cost on that annually? Break that down. And then if you're in sales, or you're trying to, you're a salesperson, you break that down into a target monthly income, and then you split that down into a target weekly income, and then you split that into a target daily income. So it's like you've set this goal, it's going to cost some money, and I know what I'm going to do every day. Like I've got to sell X amount of widgets every day in order to meet that target daily income.
Yeah.
In order to achieve that goal. So finance stuff, stuff is...
And if you're not in a position where you can control your income and you're in a sales-based role, all of the same concepts still apply. What skills do I need to upgrade to be able to jump to the next role so I can be able to get my income up? It's just being able to break down, if you're on a salary-based role with no upside, what are the steps you need to take and who you need to become to move into these roles?
Yeah, and I think one of the key points with that as well is you can upskill yourself a lot, but one of the kind of points that Greg touched on there was around, if you do want to get somewhere, you've got to set the goals, but then there's a little bit in there about networking as well. It's about trying to find the people and connect and kind of do that. So do you want to talk us just a little bit about how you see networking and how that's kind of worked for you?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, connections is probably really the third thing, isn't it? It's application. As early stages in my career, you'd go out to the opening of a paper bag in order to meet somebody, right?
I'd open an envelope.
Somebody's opening a paper bag. Let's go.
Yeah.
Getting out, meeting people, networking, and good structures around networking. Like if you, used to go to things like Auckland Young Professionals when I used to be a young professional. Any time to get out, meet people, especially if you're in the business that you guys are in. Everybody you meet is a potential client, right? So people are everything. Connections, definitely. And this is where it comes into the cars. You say, is a car a good thing? Well, yeah, it's a fantastic thing because my supercars have been involved in all of these dream days for 140 odd families, or at least 100 dream days I would have done with supercars, and kids love cars. And then you go track days. I go track days in my cars, meet some other really good business people, connections, right? So, and those people have been successful in their careers, and you learn from them. So definitely those learnings from all these people who've done these things like dog daycares, and so connections, absolutely. Network.
How much is that land going to cost us on Tamaki Drive, Mike?
Doesn't matter, mate. We'll sort something out.
Yeah, cool. Okay, great. Heaps of really good lessons there. It's just such a good way to be able to learn from other people's journeys. So thank you for jumping on and sharing your journey with us.
Easy. Thank you very much.
So if you've got somebody who you think would be good, who's got a great journey, feel free to pop them in the comment section so we can touch base. Once again, 2 ways to learn: education or through other people. And also, while you're putting a comment down there, why don't you give us a subscribe, give us a like and a review, and we will catch you when, Mike? Next time.
Cheers.